Have you ever set a goal that you were genuinely excited about and committed to, only to wonder a few months later why you hadn't actually made any meaningful progress? You had the vision, you had the intention, maybe you even had the motivation, but the follow through, that is where things fell apart. If this has ever happened to you, you're not alone. It's a very common trap that ensnares so many of us. But thankfully, there is a solution. And in this video, I'm going to break it down and give you a framework for overcoming it. Hello, my friend. I am Laura Miner, a board-certified leadership coach who helps you cultivate your inner leader for outer impact using the science of self-leadership. And I absolutely love this time of year because in December, something extra meaningful happens inside my coaching practice. I partner with my clients to reflect on the year that they're wrapping up and then to intentionally design the year ahead. And not just the goals that they want to reach, but the life they want to build and the person they want to become by this time next year. And here's something I notice over and over again in these sessions. When we zoom out and look at their past 12 months, the biggest difference between those goals that became reality versus the ones that quietly faded away, it actually has nothing to do with how ambitious the goal was or how motivated they felt when they set the goal. Instead, it has everything to do with who they were becoming as they worked toward the goal. Because your results aren't created by the goal itself. They're created by the thoughts you practice, the actions you take, and the way you motivate yourself along the way. In other words, it is your self-leadership that creates your results. So that is what we are diving into today. How who you are and how you lead yourself shapes the goals you actually bring to life. Because when this piece internally shifts, you walk away with clearer thinking, stronger personal agency, and that grounded sense that you know what to do next and how to show up for it. But before we jump in, if you are already feeling that little spark of, yes, this is what I need, would you please do me a huge favor and hit that like button? It lets me know that this content is landing for you, but it also lets YouTube know that these ideas are worth sharing, and that is really helpful to me. All right, so let's dig in. Have you ever said any of these things to yourself? If I just set a big enough goal, I'll rise to meet the challenge. If the goal is really important to me, I'll naturally make it a priority. Or if I just write it down, I'll be more accountable and will make it happen. These are very common and completely understandable ways of thinking about what makes successful goal setting. But I want you to notice what they all have in common. They put the emphasis on the goal instead of on the person pursuing it. And that's where so many people get stuck. Because a goal can point you in the right direction, but it can't create the follow through. It can't shift your mindset or choose your behaviors or generate your motivation. Those things come from in you, from who you are and how you lead yourself day after day. And that's where the 3 pillars of self-leadership come in: how you think, how you act, and how you motivate yourself. When these three pillars are intentionally part of your goal setting equation, everything changes because you're not just setting a goal, you're becoming the person who can bring that goal to life. Now, before I walk you through a simple way to put this into practice, I want to share a quick client story that illustrates exactly why this matters. So I was meeting with one of my longtime clients last week. This is someone who has grown their consulting business year over year. And in the middle of mapping out their 2026 plan, they said something that I have to admit lit up my heart. They told me that they realized in that moment that their goals hadn't actually changed that much this year, but they had changed and how they show up had changed. And they were reflecting on the fact that this internal change is what made reaching their lofty goals easier. And they were right. And for me, watching their evolution over this past year has been such a privilege. Because yes, their revenue grew, their confidence expanded, they created more opportunities within their business. And it wasn't because they set dramatically different goals from the year before, but it was because they led themselves differently as they pursued those goals. They were more intentional with how they thought, more grounded in how they acted, and more connected to the internal motivation that kept them moving forward. It wasn't the goal that created those results. It was that they grew into the person who could achieve those amazing goals by cultivating their self-leadership and infusing those three pillars into their goal-getting efforts. And I wanted to share this little glimpse into their experience because I feel like it's a great example of what is possible when you stop focusing on the outcome alone and start focusing on the kind of leader that you're becoming along the way. Because as James Clear so wisely put it, we don't rise to the level of our goals. We fall to the level of our systems. And self-leadership is a system. It's one that lives inside the thoughts you practice, inside the choices you make, and inside the way that you motivate yourself through those ordinary moments that most people overlook. But when you approach your goals through the lens of who you're becoming, instead of just what you want to achieve, everything else shifts. Your actions start to line up with your intentions. Your internal world starts to support your external results. And the process, it really becomes less about pressure and more about alignment. So let's talk about how you can get this kind of alignment in your own life. Because this isn't about overhauling everything that you're doing. It's about making one intentional shift. A shift from focusing on the goal to focusing on the leader who's pursuing it. And the simplest place to start is with a clarity exercise that I regularly walk my clients through. It's quick, it's grounding, and it helps you step into the identity piece that we've been talking about to this point. So here's what I want you to do. Grab a piece of paper and get something to write with. Then I want you to choose one goal that you want to bring to life over the next 12 months. Just one. But do make sure that it truly matters to you and that it aligns with your bigger purpose. And then I want you to write it at the top of your page. Then ask yourself, what kind of leader do I need to be to bring this goal to life? Spend a few minutes with this question. And I want you to create a short list of qualities, not achievements, qualities. In other words, who is the version of you who makes this happen. Maybe it's someone who follows through, or someone who honors their priorities, or someone who's grounded when things get busy or chaotic. So write these down on your paper and just be mindful. This list isn't about perfection. It's about direction. It's helping you to find the identity that will carry this goal forward. So once you've got clarity on who you need to be, on that future version of yourself, then you're going to identify 3 actions that you can take this month that align with those qualities. Again, not perfect actions. We are looking for aligned actions, actions that reflect who you're becoming. So, as an example, if your goal is to grow your business next year, and the leader you're becoming, so the qualities, are someone who moves with clarity instead of urgency, then an aligned action might be setting aside 20 minutes this week to identify your top 3 revenue generating priorities. This is a simple and doable action, and it reflects the version of you who can make that goal a reality. So make a list of your aligned actions, and then, and this is the really important part, choose one of those actions, build in a little bit of accountability, and then act on it within the next 48 hours. The accountability might look like putting it on your calendar, or telling someone about it so that they can check in on you, or leaving a little reminder note for yourself where you will see it first thing in the morning. Use whatever will best support your follow through, because that's the key. If you follow through on one thing, then another, I promise you, your future self will thank you. Now, if you're sitting here thinking, okay, Laura, this makes so much sense, but why haven't I always been doing it? Well, there's actually a really good reason for that too. And it has nothing to do with discipline or motivation. Most people don't struggle to set goals. They struggle with closing the gap between what they learn and what they actually do. And that's exactly what I dive into in this video, which is all about why your learning is not translating into consistent action and what you can do about it to shift the equation. So go ahead and watch this one next, and we will continue our self-leadership journey together in that video. I will see you there soon, my friend.